So glad that you're worshiping with us this morning. Grateful to be that you're a part of our Journey family. Invite you, if you haven't already, sign in. Let us know that you're here, that you're worshiping with us this morning, and offer your presence to the Lord by just putting your name in the link there. And also, I want to remind you that on our Church Center app or on our website, there are notes that go along with the message that you can download and use to help you stay connected to what I'm sharing this morning, and also stay with it in the coming week and use that as a tool to guide you through your thoughts and prayers and reflections about what God's revealing. So often, it's so easy for us to forget things that we hear and we think are important, and then we just walk away, and it's like that seed that falls on the hard soil. It's just stolen away. Those notes are a way to help you hold on to that seed, get it in the soil, and give it a chance to bloom, to blossom. We had a rare occurrence in Southern California this week. And I know that people are watching from different parts of the country and even different parts of the world. Grateful for that, but we don't get this very often. We had thunder this week, and it was pretty cool thunder. I mean, it's like low, kind of rumbling, grumbling, long thunder, and it's just we don't get that very often. And being a Midwestern, I love thunder. If you heard it, put a hand up in there. Let us know you are part of the thunder hearers this week. And hearing that thunder actually prompted a conversation with a friend of mine of an experience that we had on the mountains a few years ago. We were out in Yosemite, and we were on a trail. Actually, truth be known, we were off the trail because we had lost the trail. And we heard the thunder coming from a long ways away. And we thought, we're going to get up over this ridge, we're going to get down, and everything's going to be cool. But we got up on the ridge, and we couldn't find the trail off of the ridge, and we were going back and forth and looking, and the storm's getting closer and closer and closer. And I mean, it was like lightning crashing, cracking, thunder rolling kind of storm. And we're stuck on the top of the ridge in the middle of it. And then it starts hailing. And I've been in hail before, like little pebble hails, and it kind of comes and it goes pretty quickly, but this was not like that. This was like marble-size hail, and it just came down and down and down and down and down, and I mean, to the point where it literally covered the whole ground. And if you're out in a thunderstorm, or what you're supposed to do is, especially if you're on top of a ridge, you want to get low, both feet on the ground. You don't want to be the tallest object around, and you want to stay away from taller objects, okay? All great advice, except when you're being pelted by marble-sized hail, like just pouring down. Because then you're kind of at a point, it's like, am I safer underneath this little tree where at least I know I'm going to get knocked out by some hail ball that falls from the sky? Or am I better off out in the middle of the hailstorm? And I mean, it was an epic experience. And I can tell you, that day, I did not have to wonder if my heart was beating. Right? I could feel it in my chest. I was alive. I was reading a couple weeks ago, and I'm reading this book called Get Your Life Back by John Eldredge, and he's what he shares in that book has informed some of what you're going to hear this morning. But he makes this report, and it's from a study that was done recently, that people spend 93% of their lives indoors. 93% of your life, if you're the average person, you spend inside. Whether it's in your house or you walk out of your house, you get into your car, you're inside your car wherever you're going. You go from your car inside an office building or inside a store or inside a school or wherever it is, and then you're in that place, and then you get out of that place and you get back into your car and you go someplace else. That we are indoors 93% of our lives. And if you do the math on that, if you live to be 80 years old, that means you will spend 74 and a half of your 80 years inside. In an artificial environment. In an environment that has artificial light instead of sunlight and the moon and the stars and even the darkness of the night, an artificial climate, year-round, all the time, 68, 72 degrees, never colder, never warmer, artificial surfaces, plastic and nylon, fake leather, tile instead of wood and rock and dirt and sand, artificial smells, chemical air fresheners instead of the smell of orange blossoms and grass and salty air, fake plants, plastic fruits that emit plastic toxins instead of oxygen, the singing of birds and bubbling brooks and noisy crickets is replaced by clicks and beeps of our technology, the hum of the HVAC system, or the helicopter swirling overhead, or what one person describes as the bane of our existence, the leaf blower, right? All of those natural sounds replaced by all of these noises that inhabit our world. And here's the thing, 93% of our lives indoors. We were created with a physical body for a material world. And when I say material world, I don't mean like I'm a material girl living in a material world, right? Material world, like a physical present world. And in that material world, in that physical realm, we were given 5 senses as portals to connect with, to engage with this physical world. And with that, passions and appetites. And if you know me, you know that I am a person, I love the outdoors. I love being in the wilderness. And not everybody has the same passion or the same desire or gets the same thing out of it as I do. I get that. But I want to tell you, it isn't just me. Completely, right? For all of us, to some, we are material, physical beings created to live in a material world. So what that means is, if we're spending 93% of our lives in a fake environment, we are not living in the world, in the realm that we were created for. And it takes a toll on our hearts and on our souls, regardless of whether you have the same passion for it that I do. Just test yourself on this. Think about the experience of a Netflix binge. Right? You sit down and you watch like 3 hours of How I Met Your Mother or whatever your favorite episode, favorite show, versus how your heart and soul and body feels after you take a walk or a hike or a long bike ride, right? Completely different experiences that leave us feeling very differently. And we started a series a few weeks ago in which, from Psalm 84, we've set our hearts on a pilgrimage to move more of the saint of our redemption, of what God has done through Christ to restore us to himself. More of the saint into the ain't. I ain't a saint, but God says that because of who Jesus is and because of what Jesus has done, that we are saints. To get more of the life of God into our living. We've set our hearts on a pilgrimage towards that end. And it's true. God is everywhere. God is all around us. Jesus says you can go, when you pray, go into the closet, and your Father who you cannot see hears you. That God is with us in the closet. God meets us. He's inside our houses. He's inside our office buildings. He's inside our cars. It's not that he's void of those places, that he's absent in those places. But let me say this. He does not fit in those places. He is there, but there is more of him there than he can get into that environment. Which is why in Psalm 24, the psalmist says, and he's talking about the temple, right? That people are going up to the temple to worship and preparing. And there's this cry in Psalm 24. It says, "Lift up your heads, you gates. Be lifted up, you ancient doors, so that the King of glory may come in." It's like you're going inside to worship God, but the place that you're going into isn't big enough to contain him. So lift the roof off so there's space for God to get in. That God meets us in the closet, but he inhabits all of creation. Isaiah says, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of your glory." Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4, "The same one who descended is the one who ascended higher than all the heavens, so that he might fill the entire universe with himself." Throughout history, in God's interactions with human beings, he's done so much of the heavy lifting outdoors. Meeting people outside, meeting people in the wilderness, meeting people in creation. Think about Abraham, right? God calls Abraham. He's the father of faith. And he says to him, "Abraham, I want you to leave your home, your family. I'm going to take you on a journey to a new country." Abraham's faith journey begins by leaving home and heading off to a new land. If you, one of the most famous rock songs of all time from Led Zeppelin, "Stairway to Heaven," I, in some way, shape, or form, had to have been inspired by the experience of Jacob, who was Abraham's grandson, who was on a journey fleeing from his brother who wanted to kill him because he stole his birthright. And as he's running away, he stops for the night and he puts his head on a rock. And while he sleeps, he has this vision of a stairway to heaven and meets God in that place outdoors. Moses was on the far side of the desert, we're told, when he encountered God in the burning bush. When God was establishing with Israel that he was their God and they were his people. And he was trying to get it through their thick skulls because they were having a hard time getting their brain around it. 40 years they took to move from bondage in Egypt into the promised land. David was schooled as a songwriter, as a poet, as a warrior. When he was out in the fields tending to his father's flocks. Jesus was the Son of Man who he said had no place to lay his head, no place to call home. I wonder how many of you, if you think about your own spiritual journey, the times when you have encountered God most personally, most intimately, most convincingly, for how many of you can you name a place that was a summer camp or a mountain retreat or a sunset or a sunrise or sitting under a starlit sky that is that place where you encountered God so uniquely, so powerfully? Yeah, you know what? If you have a place, put it in the link. Let us know. Let's celebrate those places where God has met us outside. Last week, I quoted communications theorist Marshall McLuhan, who famously said, at least for those in the communication field, the medium is the message. It's a theory. Now, theories are not like stated facts. You can't like prove it. Theories are things that we observe around us, and as we observe those things and as we experience them, we come up with ways to understand them and things that make sense out of those things. And then with those theories, right, we test them against other experiences and other observations that either refute them or support them. God embodies Marshall McLuhan's theory. The medium is the message. That if you look at the faith that is revealed in the pages of the Bible, you see that God communicates to his people through two categories of mediums. And that in those mediums that he embodies the mediums and the message fully. It's a core tenet of our faith that we know God because God reveals himself to us through general revelation and through special revelation. Special is ultimately more important because there are limits to general revelation. We can't know everything that ultimately we need to know about God. Special revelation from Hebrews chapter 1. Long ago, God spoke many times and in many ways to our ancestors through the prophets. And in these final days, he has spoken to us through his Son. That God reveals himself specially through these prophets who had encounters with God in visions and dreams, through burning bushes and the belly of a whale, in ways that were unique to the individual that God spoke to, that he shares with the world. Most profoundly, most uniquely, God revealed himself to us through his Son. And these are very important conversations because general revelation isn't enough. But I want to focus, we'll have that conversation another day, but I want to really lean into this morning the general revelation. Paul picks up this idea in Romans chapter 1, verse 20. It says, ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and the sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature. From the things that he has made, in his general revelation, God is revealing himself. In Psalm chapter 19, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the end of the world. In the heavens, God has pitched a tent for the sun. It is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, like a champion rejoicing to run his course. It rises at the one end of the heavens and makes its course to the other. Nothing is deprived of its warmth. That the medium of creation is infused with the nature of the Creator. That the heavens, as a medium, are revealing to us the nature of God, and the skies, and the sun in its course through the skies. To awaken our hearts. It was Ronald Reagan who said it, and others I think before him, but I'm not sure who said it first, that there's nothing better for the inside of a man than the outside of a horse, right? That being on a horse, which is a terrifying experience for me because I have a whole litany of bad experiences on horses, right? It awakens something inside of us. If you are caught in a thunderstorm, like the story I told earlier, or you are outside or you encounter an earthquake, right? Those things that happen around us in nature, it awakens us. We don't have to wonder if we're alive. We don't have to wonder if our heart's beating. It puts us on alert. It awakens our hearts. This is true, even if you're not a believer. Right? Even if you hear this, like, I don't know about God being the creator of all things. I don't know if that's really true. I don't know if I really believe that. It's still true that the world in your encounter does, like, awaken the heart. It refreshes the soul. Think about the difference between relief and restoration. Right? We can watch a Netflix binge and be distracted from our problems and our challenges and the struggles of our world for a few minutes or for a few hours. We can be relieved of it. But when we're finished, has our soul been restored? Has there something different? Has something been renewed inside of us? Or are we more lost than we were before? That nature refreshes, renews something inside of us. It reminds us of God's abundance in a world that often feels, for so many people, empty. That nature reminds us that there is a world around us that is thriving with life. Right? You need oxygen to stay alive. You are swimming in it. It is all around you like a fish in a sea, breathing life into you as you inhale it. You need water to stay alive. 2/3 of the planet covered with water. Why the spectrum of colors? Right? Couldn't we just have a black and white world? Shades of gray, maybe? Or how about just the 4 colors with the restaurant crayon pack? Well, maybe, like 64 colors. If you were got the big one when you were in 3rd grade, that was really cool, instead of like the 16 pack. We have a whole spectrum of colors. And a world teeming with plants and animals and insects and all different styles and fashions and forms and in amazing ways. And why so many? And why like thousands that we haven't even discovered existed yet in the oceans and in the forests. Why so much? It reveals to us the abundance of God. It assures us of God's goodness. Paul, in his letter to Timothy, says that God richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Think about the places that you love, that your trip to Hawaii or your walk through a nature center that teems with life, or wherever you're going to the ocean and standing on the pier or sitting on the shore or going up to the mountains or sitting on a ledge or what. Think about every one of those places, every one of those things that you love. Paul says was actually created just for that purpose, for you to experience it, for you to enjoy it. James says, every good and perfect gift comes to us from the Father of the heavenly lights. Every gift that you receive comes to you from the same one who put the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky. It reminds us, right? Nature, its beauty and its wonder and its awe, that in whatever environment you're in, it goes through seasons. Some are more dramatic than others, but if dying and coming back to life, of renewal and restoration, reminds us that our story has a happy ending. Season after season after season, life comes again. That there is a happily ever after. That our story, that our world is not going to end with some apocalyptic, destructive event, but with the renewal, the restoration of all things. General revelation is a vehicle, a medium that God is using to reveal himself to us for our hearts, for our souls. So, my challenge this week, 2 very simple words. Go out. Go out. Get outside every day. Get out, go outside every day. Now, you don't have to go to the Yukon. You don't need to get 15 miles deep into the wilderness away from civilization, although I will say, it might not hurt you to do that. This is one of my favorite quotes. I have to share this with you because I just love it, right? It's from John Muir. He says, few places in the world are more dangerous than home. Few places in the world are more dangerous than home. Fear not, therefore, to try the mountain passes. They will kill care, save you from deadly apathy, set you free, and call forth every faculty into vigorous, enthusiastic action. And he goes on to say, even the sick should try these so-called dangerous passes, because for every unfortunate they kill, they will cure 1,000. Get outside. Maybe not the Yukon. Maybe not the dangerous passes. But maybe the porch. Maybe take a walk. Or drive up to the mountains. Or go down to the beach. Or just when you go someplace, roll the windows down in your car and hear the sounds around you. Get outside every day. Engage real things, right? From all of our plastic, nylon, fake environments. Sit in the grass. Take your shoes off and walk in the sand. Walk down to the shore. Actually, put your toes in the water. Smell the flowers. You walk through the neighborhood. There's all, in our neighborhood, all different kinds of trees. We don't live in the woods like we live in the middle of suburban America. But Lakewood, in their great wisdom, actually planted trees all over this city when they found it. And some people even refer to it as the city of trees. All different kinds of trees. Walk down, actually see the trees that are around you. Touch the bark. See how they're different. Listen to the birds. And there's all different kinds of birds, and they all make different noises. Engage real things around you. Encounter weather. I actually experience, gets outside of the 68 to 72 degrees. Again, Southern California friends, 2 opportunities in the forecast this week. Tuesday, high winds. Go outside and let the wind blow in your face. Feel it. Wednesday, 70% chance of rain. I dare you to go take a walk in the rain. Maybe even put your umbrella down for a few minutes and let the rain fall on your head. Engage the weather. Engage the world around you. Fill your world with beauty. Right? Surround yourself with things that are beautiful. In my office, I have 26 pictures hanging on the walls. And they are pictures of mountains and lakes and sunrises and sunsets and trees and trails. Beauty all around. I have several years ago, or a couple years ago, I guess, I got a plant. It's in my office. I walk in my office. I was doing this before I read this, before I wrote this sermon this week. I go in my office almost every day, and I feel the leaves on the plant. And I don't talk to it, but I like my plant, right? It's like it touches something inside of me. Not in the same way that the people that I love do, or the same way that Yosemite does, but there's something real there that's significant. Surround yourself with beauty. Breathe it in. Receive it into your soul. Gordon MacDonald says, 2 things pierce the soul: beauty and affliction. Right? I'll take beauty every day over affliction. But it touches the soul. Last week we talked about technology. Technology is draining our souls. It sucks the life out of us. I challenged you last week to cut your technology use. And I want you actually to check in today. Go back to the settings app, the battery usage, 10 days, and see how you did. If you set goals last week, remember my goal, I had 10 hours of news app the prior 10 days. So my goal was to cut it in half. I didn't make it, I'm sorry to say, but I am happy to say that I went from 10 hours the previous 10 days to 6 hours in the last 10 days. And that's 3 days carryover from the last week, right? Because that was prior to the challenge. So improvement, at least moving in the right direction. So 2 simple words last week, right? Log out, because it's sucking the life out of you. Nature is healing. Go out. You started doing less of the one last week. Start doing more of the other this week. Creation, God's general revelation. It can't tell you everything we need to know about God. We need special revelation for that. We need the prophets. We need the scriptures. We need the life of Jesus. We need the Holy Spirit. But it does remind us that there is a God, and wakes our hearts and our souls up in ways that are necessary for us to experience God's special revelation. Right? We need our hearts and our souls awake, alive, alert, to be present to God when He does reveal Himself to us. Because He so often does so in our hearts, in our souls. Log out, go out. Lord, thank you for the amazing world that we live in, and all of its beauty and intricacies, and in the smallest details and in the grandest ways. And all of it is revealing to us your nature, your character, your essence, your beauty, your majesty, your glory. I pray for each of us wisdom and discipline as we look at our lives and where we are, and we think about where it is that we want to be and where it is that we want to go, as we set our hearts on a pilgrimage to your dwelling place. Help us do little things every day that move us in that direction, our hearts and our souls might be more available and more present to what you have for us and what you want to do in us. I pray in Jesus' name.